Hey everyone, please allow me to begin by apologizing for not making a video for the Week 3 game against Miami. I've kind of been over this before, but the Thursday games are just extremely difficult for me, typically because Thursday is when I actually record these videos. But in addition to that, I moved. Yes, changed residences, purchased a new home over the last week and a half. Actually, this is the purchasing of the new home was months ago, but I actually moved. I have done it. I am in the house right now. Not that I would necessarily expect you to be able to tell, given the surroundings here. The couch, it looks the same. It is the same couch. Thank you for noticing. But it's been a whirlwind of a couple of weeks. And in addition to that, I have talked about this very briefly on this channel before. I work in the wedding industry, and September, October are extremely busy for weddings. So I have just been on the go nonstop. And I apologize for not being able to make the video for a big divisional game against the Miami Dolphins. I do want to talk about that a little bit. I think the spread, first and foremost, was too high. The Bills ended up coming really close to covering. They did not cover, but there was just way too much out there like, oh, the Dolphins are just ripe for the picking against the Bills. They're going to blow them out, and they're going to get Mike McDaniel fired. That was certainly in the realm of outcomes. Of course it was. I just would have been surprised. Typically, when you play an 0-2 team, you get their best shot. Not always. They're just desperate. They're desperate to save their season. They are in a divisional matchup, with the team that they know very well. So I just didn't think that the blowout, the 38-7 get McDaniel fired thing didn't seem likely to me. I still would have picked the Bills to win, of course. But 31-21 feels about right. I don't know what I would have picked in hindsight, but I can tell you with certainty that I would have told you I think the game is going to be closer than what people are making it out to be. And it actually was. Same can't be said for the Jets game that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. The Jets waved the white flag in the second quarter. It was like 20-0, and Aaron Glenn sends the field goal unit out there. Like, oh, you're gonna kick a field goal down 20-0 against Josh Allen? Thanks. Thanks for cutting the 3-score lead to 3 scores. Second quarter, that game was over. The Bills were made. Terrific performances from James Cook. Josh Allen didn't really have to do much. Defense was great. The only real notable thing that came out of that game was the pec injury to Matt Milano, and we still don't really know how severe it is. It's not surprising that he wouldn't play 4 days later against Miami, but he's already been ruled out for the Saints game on Sunday. So there's a little bit of concern there for sure. Milano is, 29 or 30 years old now? 30 years old now, I believe. Certainly not getting any younger, to use a common phrase there. And he's battled injuries a lot over the past couple of years. So I'm concerned. I guess I just said all that just to say that I'm concerned. And I wonder a little bit about his future with the team. I really hope it's not a torn pec. I think you would have found that out by now, because the Bills could have put Milano on IR prior to the Miami game, and they haven't done that. So to me, that signals that they think it's just a strain. I don't have any information on that, but that's just what it signals to me. So I'm going to just go with that. That's what I'm going to assume, I guess, and that could be wrong, because I think Milano had a similar injury a few years ago, and didn't he try to come back? Played one game, and then they put him on IR. So that is probably in the back of their minds. They want to be extremely careful. And let's be honest, okay? Do you need Matt Milano, even Ed Oliver, who's also been ruled out? Joey Bosa's not even injured. I don't even think I'd play Joey Bosa on Sunday. I didn't really finish my thought there. But do you need Matt Milano and Ed Oliver to beat the Saints? You should not. You absolutely should not. Do you want your players out there at full strength? Of course. Sometimes the best way to do that is to just sort of give them the extra time. I don't think Sean McDermott looks at it that way. I really don't. I think he will play people who are healthy, of course. And if Milano was healthy enough, I assume he would play. That's the truth. Or he would have certainly at least been at practice, and maybe they would have held him out of the games. Be like, oh, he was limited on Friday, but we're going to hold him out, that type of thing. He hasn't practiced. Neither has Ed Oliver. So that is a little bit concerning. But again, I don't really need them chasing around Spencer Rattler on Sunday. That's the truth. I don't need Joey Bosa chasing Spencer Rattler around this to finish that point. You didn't sign Joey Bosa to chase Spencer Rattler around in week 4. No. I want Bosa for the AFC games, the primetime games. Not necessarily the primetime, like, oh, it's at 8 o'clock at night, but like the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bengals before Burrow got hurt, the divisional games, that stuff. You want Bosa to be healthy. I don't want him. I'm just making this point primarily about him. And the reason being, these two things don't have to have anything to do with each other, but think about what happened to Von Miller. Granted, Von Miller was on a 6-year deal, and the Bills ended up eating some cap space for that and using the roster spot on him. Bosa's only on the 1-year deal with the Bills. But did the Bills need Von Miller on 3 days rest in November to start chasing Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions around? The Bills had their hands full that day with the Lions. This was before the Lions got good. They were starting to get good towards the end of that season. But Von tore his ACL, and then he was never the same player for you. And he looked like a freak before that. So, again, those two things really have nothing to do with each other. It's just the same type of situation, if that even makes sense. It's just, it gives me the same thought. I guess I don't really know how to say that, but I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down. Anyway, it's the Saints. What am I going to say about the Saints, really? They're just not that much of a pro team. They're the team that signs all the veterans and at cheap and just plugs along. Like, let's just see what happens here. I mean, they have some guys who have been there forever. Kamara, of course. Cameron Jordan, of course. DeMario Davis has been there for a while. But these guys, again, to echo what I said earlier, these guys aren't getting any younger. I mean, they could end up trading some of these players if they feel like they owe it to these guys. But I think the ball's going to be in their court. Cameron Jordan and Kamara. I'd be surprised if Cameron Jordan wants to leave. I really don't think he does. Kamara might not either, but they might approach him about it and be like, look, we know how this is going. Do you want to move on? Do you want a chance to compete here with a playoff team, And that conversation could be on the horizon for them, because this is the type of team where it is getting worse. The whole gets worse before it gets better. It's currently getting worse. They won 5 games last year. I'd be surprised if they won 5 games this year. Rattler hasn't been terrible, but he doesn't really throw the ball down the field. 4 touchdowns and 1 pick. Most of those touchdowns came in the game against San Francisco, a game that they were in, for sure. The touchdown last week against Seattle was late. The game was completely over. The game was over by the second quarter. It was 35-3 halfway through the second quarter. I mean, the Saints had really just similar to the Jets against the Bills a few weeks ago. They'd waved the white flag. They were done. The Bills typically don't. They're not the same Bills that just blow teams out. They haven't really done that a lot lately, but they just play a little bit better than you. So I don't think they're going to necessarily play down to the Saints, but it wouldn't shock me if it's like 14-7 in the second quarter or something like that, and the Bills end up punting, and you're like, come on, stop playing with your food here. That situation is, I don't want to necessarily say it's likely, but I could certainly see it. I do expect the Bills to win the game handily. It's the biggest spread in the NFL so far this season, like 16.5 points. It might be the biggest spread in the NFL this season, period. And I expect the Bills to take care of business. I understand why Joe Brady, Bills offensive coordinator, who I believe he interviewed for the Saints head coaching position. I understand why he took his name out of that running. It's just not, I know that there's only 32 of those jobs and these situations don't come up all the time, but it's just not an enviable position for Kellen Moore right now. You might end up with the first pick of the draft. That might, that could work out for you. I don't know if, I don't mean to open up the conversation about whether Arch Manning is worth the first overall pick or not. That's a conversation to be had another day, and for them, because it's certainly not going to affect the Bills in any way, shape, or form. But that's where it's tracking. The thing I don't understand is why they took Tyler Shugg in the second round. They took the guy 40th overall or whatever he was, and he doesn't play. He doesn't look like he can necessarily play. He can't beat out Spencer Rattler. Anything you read about the Saints is like, nobody is like, hey, they might have something here. Nobody is saying that. Like, hey, this could be a thing. So why did you use on a team that has so many holes, so many positions that need to be filled or will need to be filled in the very near future? Again, Kamara coming to the end of his rope probably with the Saints at least. Cameron Jordan's 36 years old. Demario Davis is getting up there. Who else? Oh, they're playing Brandon Cooks at wide receiver. They have a nice piece in Shaheed. They have a nice piece in Kool-Aid McKinstry. Like, they have a few nice young guys there, as any team does. Okay, but why are you using the 40th overall pick on a quarterback that you just realize a month in that you can't play? I don't know when they realized it. Maybe it was in OTAs. Maybe it was in training camp, and they were like, "Oh, this isn't going to work." And it was that way for the Jets, Christian Hackenberg. The Jets took him in the second round, and it was just very clear right from the get-go. Nope, it's not going to work for him. I mean, so why were you the only team that wasn't privy to this? Anyway, I don't mean to make this, entirely about the Saints. I'm just talking to you about what the Bills are up against this Sunday. I think it shouldn't look too difficult for the Bills, but they have a ways of being slow in certain parts of the game. For example, I heard this, I think it was on a podcast, and now I don't remember which one. But I heard somebody say this. It might have been a tweet from a podcast or something like that. Like, if you watched the Bills game on Thursday against Miami, they scored 31 points. And for a quarter and a half, they were stuck in the mud. They felt like they couldn't get a first down, in the third quarter. They scored to start the third quarter, and then after that, it was just they were sitting on their hands. And they scored 31 points. The Bears against the Cowboys, if you watch that game on Sunday, the Bears looked unstoppable. The Bears scored on every possession. It looked like the Cowboys couldn't figure out what to do. They also scored 31 points. And that is a testament, I think, to Josh Allen. Josh Allen sometimes just snaps it on. He has that Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, that type of instinct where for certain stretches of the game, he can just snap it on and he's going to be unstoppable. And yeah, we got a guy. It's awesome. Stay along for the ride because the Bills are, I don't want to say coasting. They are kind of coasting to the division title. I mean, they are 2 games up on everybody. Right now, they're 3-0. The next closest team, Jets, and Patriots, 1-2. So Patriots coming up next week. Real chance to just run away. The Bills could have the division locked up very, very early, but more importantly, the 1 seed. Obviously, that's what we're after, is the 1 seed. It is the most important thing to us. We want the home games in the playoffs. We want the AFC Championship to be in Buffalo. The last game at Highmark Stadium is the AFC Championship. Are you kidding me? Could you write a better script? Need it. Inject it. Gotta have it. Baltimore's 1-2. Kansas City's 1-2. They play each other this week. One of them will have 3 losses. I think there's a case to be made for either one because you have the tiebreaker against Baltimore, so maybe you want them to win and just knock Kansas City back a few pegs if you think that Kansas City has a good chance of getting back into it. Maybe you want Kansas City to win because you still have that game against them. You can still get that tiebreaker against them. Maybe you view Baltimore as the better team. I think a lot of people do that. View Baltimore as a better team, So you could, again, it could go either way. I'm just going to see what happens and then, sort of react based off of that. A lot of football to go, though. A lot of things can happen. The Bengals look like they're not going to be a significant threat. They got beat down by Minnesota. Burrow out at least 3 months, of course. So, it feels like you got a leg up there. You do play the Steelers, who might have something to say. But the Steelers feel like they're just permanently like the 5th, 6th, 7th best team in the AFC. It's just, it's constant. Is evergreen with them. That's not to say that they can't beat you. The Bills are just in a very good position with, being 3-0. They're Baltimore, their biggest rivals, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Kansas City, all dealing with either having poor records or injuries, to their best player. So, yeah, pedal to the metal. Let's go. I know it's only week 4, and we shouldn't be looking ahead to these things. I'm sure that the Bills are not, like the team is not, but as fans, you can't help it. You really can't help but look ahead in that regard. That's just, you're on the outside looking in. So you aren't in the building. You aren't in like preparing for the opponent. You're just watching the game. You're an onlooker. So you look at the landscape of the sport, really. I don't know why I felt the need to explain all that to you. Anyway, Bills and Saints on Sunday. I've seen something like this before. The Bills played the Titans last year, Mason Rudolph, and I think the game was like 10-7 or 14-10 or something at halftime, and the Bills just ran away in the second half. And at no point did I ever feel like the Bills are going to lose here, but the playing with your food point that I brought up earlier, I could see that happening again, but I'm still going to pick the Bills to win on Sunday against the Saints. Let's go with like 34-18. Maybe it's 34-10 and the Saints score a late one and go for 2 and make it 18. 34-18. Bills over Saints. Everybody, appreciate you bearing with me over my move. Again, I'm sorry to make a video last week, but hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter handle and YouTube username are the same. If you're at the game on Sunday, come say what's up if you know where to find me. Enjoy your weekend. As always, above all else, go Bills.